Um, it was important to, first of all, come back from the, virtual dead. Um, I know yesterday we had some interesting goings on with the interwebs yesterday because the fine folks at Facebook pulled a nice one on everybody using their platforms. But I don't want to get into that. You basically have to know and understand that there are individuals and corporations and institutions that, again, it's through circumstances like this that you realize how dependent your daily habits are on these resources and platforms. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that. But that's not what I want to check in with you guys on. First of all, because it was important, again, to come back and again check in with everybody. And, just because it's important to, check in and get a pulse on how everybody's doing. I know I don't make it on the platforms as often, and I've said this through a couple of posts. I'm taking some step back from just social media as a whole, and I'm really focusing on actual work that I believe can serve my community on a greater scale, if you will. Just put in some very effective steps trying to serve you guys in the best way possible. And I can't do that if I'm constantly just, managing, my social media platforms and stuff. So I'm trying to find another strategy in that sense. But what I wanted to check in with you guys on is because I was having a conversation early in the week with someone who was talking about, being in a state of anxiety. And of course, the word exists, a lot of overwhelm dealing with so many things, whether it's, dealing with family, dealing with job, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with personal projects, dealing with, the future and what does the future hold and what am I going to do and am I at the right job and how come I'm not making enough money and is this really everything that, what I went to school for and, what are my kids going to say and everything. And it's funny enough because I used to be that person. Um, so I believe I want to thank the universe, the Lord, and all the effort I've done with myself to try to develop a little bit more of empathy. Because there used to be a time where you'd be listening to that person like, Joe, please just shut the fuck up and just brush it off and just not understand that this person is actually dealing with something very valid and very legitimate, which is a certain burden of emotion and distraught. Because big or small, when someone is dealing with something and when they have the comfort and courage to actually reach out to you and be vulnerable in that sense, you have a certain you know availability that you need to create. Even if it's just to say I can't be your resource right now, you can't just be openly reacting. And what I believe the person was going through, and that's something I said openly, is the person was dealing with a lot of overwhelm. Overwhelm is very real because coming from a position of someone who's dealt with it, I just want to be able to hopefully, in this short conversation, short solo, let you guys know that there's nothing to be ashamed of, and you are not carrying some kind of like, I am invincible and I'm only going through this by myself. I can only do this by myself and I got this. I'm hard, I'm going to go hard and I got this. There is no shame in admitting that maybe you're taking on too much, maybe you're dealing with too much, and maybe there's too much going on for you right now. And that is okay because that's a mistake I made for a really long time, which is say yes to everything, be available for everyone, and take on everything. It's just a recipe for disaster. Try to be, the best father you can, try to be the best husband you can, try to be the best employee you can, try to be the best photographer you can, try to be the best podcaster you can, try to be the best blogger you can, try to be the best writer you can, try to be the best speaker you can. That was my laundry list and trying to go to the gym and trying to just fix stuff around the house, trying to be everything under the sun and trying to do that while not taking into consideration that, you know what, here where are my priorities? What are the basics that are required of me right now? I don't remember where I read this, but I'm just trying to impart this onto you guys because this could actually serve you, you know, big or small. Do the best you can where you are with what you have. A lot of time we fall into the trap of thinking that everything is important right away, right now, at this moment. That's the mistake I made. If I'm just taking on an example that a guy, probably could serve as, a good comparison. Um, when I was like at the height of my workaholic tendencies, I really used to say yes to everything. As in, like, project would come up, sure. Meeting, sure. Conference call, sure. After hours, sure. Like, not a problem. Can you do this project over the weekend? Sure. Can you come in on Saturday? Sure. Not a problem. And then transition that into homes. Like, want to go to you know, barbecue at the in-laws. Sure. Like, let's go do a grocery run. Sure. Let's go downtown because, we haven't been downtown in a while. Sure. Even though you hate going downtown. That's, my wife requesting that we go into town because Montreal is beautiful in the summer. Like, okay, we need to be out of the house more. So we need to have activities. We need to do all these things. And then, oh, by the way, you have a photography gig when I used to be a photographer in the past life. So let's take on 2 or 3, photography contracts. Let's take on 2 or 3 weddings. And oh yeah, by the way, we've just launched a podcast. So okay, let's book some guests and then let's record some guests. And because we just started podcasting, so let's do, the iTunes, let's do the YouTube, and let's do the blog posts, and let's do the posting, let's do the RSS feed, let's do the imaging, let's do the social media posts, let's reply to every single comment, let's stay up at 4 o'clock in the morning and edit and do all this stuff. And oh yeah, let's feed the baby. And oh yeah, let's go back to work. And with all this stuff. Am I getting annoying yet? So I understand the language of overwhelm because I've been there. And what you see here is a pattern because the common denominator is me. The common denominator is the fact that no one takes time that you don't give them. Let me just reshape that for you guys. People only take the time that you give them. As much as you want to blame your boss for putting on too many projects onto your docket, as much as you want to blame your spouse for requiring too much of you, or as much as you want to blame your kids. I'm not saying this to shy away from your kids because kids for me are sacred. Kids don't ask to be born. That's just my own personal, parentheses in this conversation. Kids don't ask to be born. So in terms of don't treat your kids as overwhelmed. You're allowed to say that, okay, sometimes your kids can be a handful, but I'm going to say this right off the bat. Yes, your kids can be a handful, but again, kids don't ask to be born. You ask to have kids. Okay, particular circumstances notwithstanding, because a lot of people are going to come in. Yeah, but there are exceptions. There are always exceptions to everything. I'm going to close out the parenthesis here. I don't want to get off track. Overwhelm is very real, and I want to use my particular example because I had to take a step back because hey, eventually what happens is that I burnt out. You know, because I was giving too much at home. I was giving too much at work. I was giving too much of my personal projects. And eventually, what happens is think about it, guys. Time you're putting here is time you're not putting there. All right. Let me say this again. Time you're putting here, quotation marks, is time you're not putting there, quotation marks. Do all the reading you can. There is no such thing as multitasking. All right. There's only a term called task shifting. Read it up. There is no such thing as multitasking. All right. Your brain can only do one thing well at a time. You can take on separate tasks, but for the time that you're spending, whether it's dialing a phone number, whether it's logging into an account, whether it's swiping, whether it's writing a paragraph, whether it's taking the call, you can only do one thing at a time. All right. Now it's your responsibility to understand and acknowledge your decision into what you allow your brain to be distracted by, whether the task is meaningful or not. Now, all these tasks that you're letting into your universe or letting into visualize a virtual desk all this clutter that you're allowing to add on to the pile of junk that is taking over your mental space has consequences. And that is your overwhelm. And that was a conversation I had with my friend by telling him, like, okay, is it possible you're taking on too much? Is it possible you're taking on too much? And these are the very radical questions you need to ask yourself. What matters right now? I'm going to say this again. Do what you can, do the best you can with what you have where you are. You can't, I believe in planning. I believe in project management. I believe in having timelines. I believe in having, end dates and deadlines and stuff. But I also believe in balance. I say this a lot, you can't give what you don't have. You're no use to anyone if you're worn out. You're no use to anyone, especially if you're dead. I came to that crossroads. I was exhausted. I was mentally drained. I was not present and I was not giving the best of myself. Overwhelm is very real. And sometimes for a lot of people, when they want to shift the blame and point other people, they have a very hard time coming to the truth of the mirror and looking at the fact that, you know what? Maybe the only common denominator being me. So the first person responsible is me. You have the power to tell your boss, listen, I understand you want me to take on this project. I am more happy to take on this project. So you and I are going to sit down and look at all the projects I'm handling right now. You get to pick which one I'm not going to deal with. You get to pick which one I get to cancel. Because if you want me to take care of this, just know that I'm not going to take care of this. This is what I've been doing for a lot of time. In my own personal 9 to 5, I handle a lot of projects. But I've had these very harsh conversations with my boss. Like, sure, you want me to do this? Understand that that is not going to get done. And there will be no question because I can't do all of them. I can do a lot, but I can't do everything. And the stuff that I can't do, don't come to me about, the execution or whatever. I'm a champion, but don't come to me with dissatisfaction or complaints because I don't care. You gave me this, I will handle this. And that's the conversation that needs to happen. Whether, in regards to your personal space, your personal time, you need to carve out personal time. You need to understand, okay, what deserves your time? Are you going to do 20 push-ups in the morning or are you going to swipe with Instagram in the morning? What are you going to do in the afternoon? What are you going to do in the evening? For those of you who, have prayer time, for you have spiritual time, who do your yoga, what deserves your time? As I'm talking to you guys, I had a guest in a previous episode, Cam McDougall, and he was very firm. And when we booked his recording, he said, I have a very disciplined schedule where I turn off screens at 7:30. So whenever time we record, it has to be before 7:30. And the people with such a very clear-cut discipline and ethic, I totally respect. And that is the clarity and discipline you need to have with yourself. Overwhelm can't happen. Like the junk, the stuff, the clutter does not happen by itself. The stuff and overwhelm only happens as a result of unfortunate habits and mindsets and disciplines that you're not applying. So that is the stuff. Those are the habits I had to apply for myself. I had to identify where my unfortunate habits were. For me, it was saying yes to everything because I just love being available for everybody. So you need to identify what are your triggers, what are your red flags. I know I'm a workaholic, so I know that no matter what comes my way, I'm going to try to say yes. But I had to, grow a pair and actually learn to say no and understand that, you can't do everything. And what was my priorities? Also, learn how to identify your priorities. What is a priority to you? For me, a good night's sleep, time with my wife, cartoons with my kids, and, time to actually work on this podcast. If I tick off those 4 boxes, that's cool. Good night's sleep, health, time with my wife, time with my kid, cartoons with my kids, just hanging out. Right now we go out for bike rides. You need to carve out space. Everybody has the same 24 hours. That is not an invention. Some have a little bit more, let's just call them hurdles to manage that block of time, but everybody's got the same 24 hours. So the overwhelm doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you let it happen, and it continues. It persists because you allow it. All right. You guys know I'm very big about accountability. So those are the harsh conversations that I had to have with myself, including being vulnerable enough in terms of asking for help. So again, in my worst times, I had to actually reach out to some trusted friends and individuals, which I really adore. And I told them, like, listen, this is what I'm dealing with. And, and the first thing my friend asked me is like, okay, grab your phone, send me a picture of your desk. I'm like, what? Grab your phone, send me a picture of your desk. So I did. And he basically got the picture and basically edited a bunch of like yellow arrows everywhere. And he gave me a bunch of notes in regards to like too much paper here, too much paper here. Why is your chair there? Your screen is not there. Your phone is out of reach. Why is the stapler there? You've got too much junk on your thing. So of course you don't know what to focus on. So even unbeknownst to myself, I had created overwhelm for myself. So, and he asked me, if you are handling your workday, this is just your desk. So I fear what, your home is like, what I'm sorry, your meal schedule is like, your sleep schedule is like, your conversations are like, what's inside your head. I fear for you. So you need to, first of all, handle your desk. So if you can handle your desk, clean up your desk because, and I will retain these because I use this as a caption for this broadcast, a cluttered environment does not favor a cluttered mind does not favor a cluttered environment. So they work hand in hand. If you want an uncluttered mind, you need to create an uncluttered environment. And that was the most basic physical manifestation of my situation. And the fact that it was so clear and so obvious in front of me, that was like, man, my desk looks like crap. And my and I went to my car, and even my car was like that. I'm like, man, there's so much junk in my car. Like, and it was everywhere. You guys don't know this because you don't understand how you do one thing is often enough how you do everything. A lot of you are going to tell me like, no, it's not true. It's not true. It's not. Trust me. On a molecular level, most people, you don't think about how you brush your teeth. You can wake up blindfolded or blind even and still brush your teeth. Nobody can teach you at this point in time in your journey how to brush your teeth. So trust me, there are things you do on an instinctual level which have become habitual. It's like walking into, sorry to my smoker friends, it's like walking into the car of someone who smokes. They don't smell it, but you do. So it's the same thing. You don't see your clutter. So it takes someone on the outside with an objective view to tell you, just like my friend did, objectively, okay, this is where you're fucking up. This is how you need to clean up your desk. This is how you need to clean up your car. This is where you need to clean up your relationships. This is how you need to mind your conversations. And that's the third element. The fourth element that I thought was also very important: mind your conversations, whether inner or outward conversations. Some stuff, guys, does not matter. Some conversation does not matter. Some content should not cross the mental barrier of your brain. Basic example, there was a point where my wife and I, we were really big fans of Law and Order SVU. All right. And we used to watch that show on a binge. But at a certain point, and I kid you not, after a couple of seasons of watching that content, for some reason, I started looking at the world really, really, really weird. And having a young daughter at that time, I was just like, is he a sex offender? Is he a sex offender? Like, my God, there are a bunch of, and the content that you ingest shapes your vision onto the world. So you really need to mind the people you speak to, the content that you listen to, the podcast you listen to, the stuff you read, even the stuff that you define as entertainment. Like right now, I watch a bunch of cartoons with my kids, but I'm very selective into the cartoons I watch. Some stuff I will not watch. I like SpongeBob, but some stuff does not deserve my attention. And that has to be the same for you, whether through your relationships, professional or personal, or whether how you choose to Netflix. Because again, Netflix is very good at that. The last show you watch is obviously going to stir up another show that you never heard of. And for some reason, you're going to go down the Netflix rabbit hole. Be very careful with that. All right. Um, but that plays a huge role into what you choose to actually pile on to your mental real estate. Be very protective of that. That's the best thing that I want to say and leave you guys with. You have to be very protective of your mental real estate because the overwhelm, like I said, does not happen by accident. All right. It's the unfortunate result of some habits and processes that you have unfortunately let happen. But the good news is it's doable, it's possible, and it's easier than you think. And it starts with a choice. Again, you guys know I'm very big about accountability. So there's no sugarcoating it. There is effort to be made on your part, same way I did. It's not easy. You're gonna have to cut some habits. You're gonna have to cut some subscriptions, and you have to cut some friendships if it has to come to that, near or far, because you know what, your greatness depends on it. All right. Here's to you. Just gonna sign you guys off. Here's to your wonderful, wonderful being. Here's to all the greatness that you deserve. Here's to building better habits, and here's to seeing you, just clear your virtual desk and also your mental real estate. Less junk and more greatness. So you can overcome and overtake that overwhelm. Always available for you guys. If you want to reach out to me, you know where to reach me, awakeningtheawesome@gmail.com or on the Instagrams or anywhere. I'm pretty reachable these past few, even if I've made myself a bit scarce on the platform, as I said, but I'm always available. If you guys want to talk a little bit more about overwhelm, if you want to revisit this topic again, I'm more than happy to help you guys. And yeah, if this content resonated with you, feel free to let me know or share. This is going to be available on both YouTube and Instagram. So I'm also going to make an actual recording of this live, if for also to be available on the podcast a little bit later. So subscribe to the feed if you want it. But again, as always, thanks for being here. Love you guys so much. Thanks so much for the incredible support. Still a work in progress, but we're taking it one step at a time. Love you guys much. As always, stay blessed, stay safe. Have a great evening. Stay awesome. Hey, wait a second. Someone wants to join the podcast. Someone